Welcome to Hutchinson Economic Developments. My name is Miles Seppold. I serve as the Economic Development Director for the city. In this week's episode, we'll have our normal project updates, and then in the second segment, we're going to have a guided tour of the Center for Technical Excellence over at Hutchinson High School. So we're going to show you one of the centerpieces of TigerPath. So, news updates. Number one, Lauren Lindemeyer, who was my intern for the 2024-25 school year, won a big scholarship. She was our Women in the Workforce intern, and in that capacity, she learned a lot about leadership, which was one of the big goals. She met and interviewed a lot of female leaders in our community, and then she recruited a whole bunch of her friends to be taking these technical education classes over at the high school. So that gave her a body of experience that she could put into this scholarship application. And what do you know? She won the big scholarship, so that's going to be $10,000 a year for her for college. So congratulations, Lauren, and a big win, and we're proud that we're happy to be a little part of it. So last I heard, I think Lauren is going to go on to become a nurse, I think is what I had heard. The other big win is that Dean Bertram here in Hutchinson won the Minnesota Business Person of the Year award from the Small Business Administration. So Dean owns Innovative Foam and was in the Enterprise Center for a number of years where he grew the business, and then later on he went out and bought his own building, remodeled that, and the business continues to grow and be successful. Dean was in Washington last week to receive the award, and so just congratulations to Dean. And again, another one that we're happy to be a tiny little part of. So yeah, congratulations to Dean on that one. The various news updates I will lay out here from the north end of town going south. So on the very north end, the old former Burns Manor site, that is now all under construction. A lot of earthwork going on right there. North Maple Apartments. They're going to be building 2 buildings in the first phase, so that'll be 88 apartments altogether. And I would imagine that those are going to be open probably a year from now, is what I would guess. And then in a second phase, they'll come back and do the third and final building, which would be another 44 apartments. And just for reference, the developer on this is called Keeper. And they're the ones that did the apartments right next to Quick Trip on the south end of town. So if you know what those look like, I would imagine these will probably be pretty similar. At their last board meeting, the Economic Development Authority voted to expand the boundaries of our downtown grant and loan programs. We've got 3 programs that are designed to help boost the downtown. So it's the Sign and Awning Grant, a Facade Improvement Matching Grant, and then a commercial rehabilitation loan program. So previously the boundaries were basically both sides of Main Street, both sides of Hassan Street, and both sides of Franklin Street. And now those have been expanded. We went north a little bit further to Highway 7, and then east a little bit to the east side of Monroe. So a little bigger area, and that just kind of reflects how downtown has changed and grown over the years. And we just want to be able to serve the businesses within that larger area. The landing is moving ahead very rapidly. So here I took a picture of it last week from across the river, looking more presentable. And I did talk to the site superintendent, and he told me that they figured to have the exterior done here probably by the middle of July. So they've got most of the stonework done on the main level, and then now they're doing the rest of the siding here segment by segment. So it'll be pretty fun to see this take shape. So yeah, probably middle of July I would imagine to get the exterior done. And then interior, they're making really good progress. They've already got the top floor sheetrocked, and then now they're working from the top to the bottom. So a lot of the wiring, a lot of the plumbing, a lot of the ventilation stuff, that's already done, and they're moving into the sheetrocking stage. So pretty good progress. The second picture there on the right, that just shows where the driveway's going in on the west side of the building. That'll be the driveway that leads to the garages. And then also on this site here, probably at the end of the month, end of May, early June, the city has a contractor coming in to dig out the stormwater retention pond, and then we'll be making some improvements to Glen Street on the north end. The old boat landing is going to get taken out, and then curb and gutter will be kind of put in there to round off that corner. So that'll be late May, early June. I would imagine it'll probably take all of June to get that done, but we'll see how that unfolds. But overall, the project's coming along really nicely and moving quite quickly. Dairy Queen remodel, that's coming right along. Most of the exterior work, I think, is done. They've got the tower thing kind of created on the corner. They've got new signage up. They've got neon that they've added, so that's going to look pretty impressive. And then the other day I noticed they've got their big plastic spoon on the outside of the building, so a neat addition in there. And now they're working on remodeling the interior as well. So a lot of the old wainscoting has been removed and it's going to be replaced by tile in different places. So I think overall it's going to have probably more of an upscale look to it when it's all done. And then I did talk with the owner, and he said to emphasize, you know, they're open for business. So I was there last week I think, to get an ice cream cone. So they're open, and by all means stop in and visit, and you can see how they're coming along. The Jorgensen Hotel, I think we're on the verge. We got the traffic safety measures have been put up, and I believe demolition is imminent. I've got a call in to the contractor this morning to hopefully get an update, but they're getting everything queued up to do this. The city has issued its demolition permit. I know Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has signed off on it. I know the crane, they had to get a high-reach excavator to come in and start taking this building down, and that's, I think, coming in. And so we're looking at a month or a month and a half to do the demolition. So I think we're right on the verge, and probably by the time this episode airs, it could well be underway. Here's a couple of pictures just showing the traffic safety measures. They put up a 6-foot fence around the whole site, and just a reminder, Washington Avenue is closed next to the hotel, and then the alley behind the building is closed, and then on Main Street there's a bunch of cones and so forth, so just watch out for that when you're driving through. I can confirm there is a new Thai restaurant that's going to be coming in. This will be at the former Zella's location on Main Street. So the pictures there, that's from the owner's website, so that's the actual food that they're going to be serving. And my understanding is they're shooting to open this up hopefully in July. The owner and his family, they own a number of Thai restaurants around Minnesota, and they just opened one up in St. Cloud, and my understanding is that Hutchinson is next on the list. So hopefully this will take shape real quick. River House is making some improvements. This picture is actually out of date a little bit, but siding is being added to the south side of the building, and then there's other pretty cool plans for this area and that open area in between the buildings. So I think that's all I can say about it right now, but as soon as I can share, I will have the details for you. But it's going to be a pretty fun deal. And like I mention every time, Guiding Light Early Learning Center is open for business. They've got slots available for preschool and school-age kids. So if you know of anyone that needs childcare, or you need childcare or whatever, they have slots available. So the number is there on your screen. Going a little further south now to Hutchinson Shopping Mall. New retailers coming in there. I was in the mall last week, and construction is underway. They've got a chunk of it here walled off, and they're making the improvements they need. Can't really share the name of the retailer just yet, but as soon as I can, I will share it on this program. But I can say it's more of a variety kind of a store. They'll have multiple different things, and it'll be a neat addition to Hutchinson. And then finally, Ridgewater College has a new president, Dr. Cheryl Norman. She comes to us from Central Lakes College, where she was the vice president of academic and student affairs. And she will be starting at Ridgewater on the 1st of July. And then I would imagine sometime during July or maybe early August, we'll have her for an interview on this program. So we'll be able to introduce her to the community, and we can learn a little bit more about our new Ridgewater president. So those are the updates for now. If you have any questions, by all means, give me a call. I'd be happy to chat with you. My number's there on the screen. I'll be willing to chat with you anytime. Stay tuned now, because in our next section, we're going to have a guided tour of the Center for Technical Excellence over at Hutchinson High School. This is really the heart of TigerPath, so you'll not want to miss that. So stay tuned. Welcome to Hutchinson High School. Today we're going to give you a little tour of the new high school, focusing particularly on what's called the Center for Technical Excellence, the Tech Ed area. And we're going to take a look at the central role that plays in TigerPath. So here I'm standing next to the big H. This was actually a donation from Hutchinson Manufacturing years ago. And it's just a great example of the collaboration that we have between our businesses here in town and the high school. It's really pretty exceptional. So join us as we take a little closer look at TigerPath. As the new high school was being completed, the decision was taken to kind of move away from one-size-fits-all education to more of an academy-style education here at Hutchinson High School. So here I want to point out the badges on the top of the stairs there. Each of those corresponds to about 25% of the jobs in the economy. And the 4 TigerPath academies that were implemented, the first one is Stream Academy, and that's your traditional STEM that you may have heard about. So that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But then it also includes R for renewables, it includes A for art, it includes M, not just mathematics, but also manufacturing. So that's the Stream Academy, and about, like I said, 25% of the jobs in our economy correspond to the Stream Academy. Then the next one is Sci-High Academy. That's mostly the high sciences, probably with an emphasis on medical care, because there's so many medical jobs available these days. I know in Minnesota we need approximately 26,000 registered nurses in the next 5 years or so. So the question is, where are they coming from? So that's why we implemented Sci-High Academy, to kind of help meet those medical career needs. The next one then is the Business Academy, and that just corresponds to, every type of business, whether it's manufacturing business or retail business or commercial business, and not just business, but business related. And then finally, there's Human Services Academy, and that's sort of the catch-all for everything else. But that would include education, it would include careers in the military, it would include things like social work, things like that. So, like I said, each of the 4 academies corresponds to about a quarter of our job market, and students will come in. Actually, in 8th grade, they go through a lot of counseling, and the students will take a lot of tests, a lot of aptitude tests, really more just to figure out how they're built and what they like. And from that, the students in 8th grade are going to be choosing their TigerPath Academy, which they will enter into in 9th grade. One of the key features of TigerPath is that electives have been made available for students right away in 9th grade. I know when I was in high school, I probably didn't see an elective until my junior, or more likely my senior year. You just weren't allowed to take them. But because TigerPath is about allowing students to explore different options, we had to make electives available right away in 9th grade. And because of that, if a student likes welding, for example, they can take welding right out of the gate in 9th grade, and if they're really good at it and they love doing it, they can keep taking those courses all the way through high school. Or if they don't, then they have time to explore other career options. When we first implemented TigerPath, I think there were about 370 or so students that would be taking these technical education classes. And since we've opened it up by allowing students to take electives, that number has gone all the way over 750. So now the tech ed area is just completely full. All the classes are overflowing, and students are really diving into exploring their different career options. Now we're going to go and take a look at some of the classrooms in the Center for Technical Excellence. Back when I was in high school, I remember it was just called the shop. Everybody just called it the shop. And it was gray cinder block and pretty dingy. and sort of dungeon-like, I guess. So one of the things that we did at Hutchinson High School as part of the remodel was to totally revamp the shop, and we had to rebrand it. And so that's how it came to be called. So now it's called the Center for Technical Excellence, because we want to put some of the cool into this for young people. So here's just kind of an example of some of the projects and things they work on at the Center for Technical Excellence. It's really quite remarkable the level of technology that these students are using every day. The signage in the back there, that was actually donated by a company called Innovative Foam here in town. So we just kind of showed them what we wanted, and they made it and installed it and then said it's yours for free. So it was just another example of how local industry and local businesses have really stepped forward to support TigerPath and support Hutchinson High School. So here we have just kind of a listing of all the companies and organizations that donated to help make the Center for Technical Excellence possible. The Hutchinson Economic Development Authority, we were a big partner in this, and we engaged our local manufacturing community and other entities as well to help pull together the funding that we needed to create the Center for Technical Excellence. So through all of this, we've raised over $1.7 million locally. And quite honestly, it was not anywhere near as difficult as I thought it would be, because I just go out and engage these local companies, explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and they could immediately see the benefit, because as you've heard me say many times, we don't have enough workers in this town, or really anywhere, particularly technically trained workers. And so we believe really that our workforce is coming from Hutchinson High School. Welcome to the Computer-Aided Drafting and Design Lab. It's called the CAD Lab. Here's where students learn how to draft and design buildings and parts and so forth. So you can see we have computers, we have laser engravers, we have 3D printers, really all the latest state-of-the-art technology. And so here it's all about design, and this is where kind of the art part of STREAM comes into play. So they might design parts here, for example, and the way this thing is set up is that they can design the parts on the computer, they can push a button, they send the design to the machine next door or across the hall, and then the machine will cut the part based on the design that the students made. So it's really state-of-the-art, it's really cutting edge. One thing I want to point out up on the wall, those are some of the companies and entities that donated to help make all of this possible. We wouldn't be anywhere without the support of our local employers. So, I mean, they're the ones that really made the Center for Technical Excellence possible and TigerPath possible. This is our machine tool lab. Here, what they do is they will take bigger pieces of metal and cut them down to be smaller pieces of metal. And then we also do electronics. We do what's called mechatronics, which is the fusion of electronics and mechanical things. And then we also do our robotics in this space. So here I'm going to point out all the desks, everything's on wheels, because flexibility is really the name of the game here. All these rooms get reconfigured based on whatever the needs of the class are. Here's an example of a mechatronics trainer, and what this is, it's a miniature version of what you would see in a factory. It's conveyors, it's chutes, it's material handling systems, and here students are going to learn electronics, they're going to learn pneumatics, which is working with air, they're going to learn hydraulics, all this type of thing. And it's just on a small scale, but like I said, it's the exact same thing you're going to see at a 3M or one of our other manufacturers. And so these trainers were actually donated by 3M years ago, and they have been just tremendous supporters of TigerPath from the very beginning. Up on the wall here, this is an example of all the companies that donated to help make this area possible. So we tried to match up the companies with the area that they supported, and so 3M and Midwest Industrial Tool Grinding and RD Machine and all that, that's why they're represented here. And part of our thought process is that we want students to, you know, see these signs and think to themselves, gee, maybe someday I'm going to work there, you know, and so they can connect the company with what they actually do. Here in the machine tool lab, the students will start, they learn first on the manual machines. They got to kind of learn the principles of machine tool work. So they start with the manual stuff, and then they'll kind of move up to the computer-assisted equipment, and then finally they'll graduate all the way up to the CNC machines. CNC stands for computer numeric control, and so these are machines that you have to actually program the design into. A lot of times that design work will happen over in the CAD lab, which we saw earlier, and then like I said, they'll just push a button, the design will come across to the CNC lathe or the other CNC machines, and then the part gets cut based on the design that the students made. So this is an example of a CNC mill, and what it's doing is it'll take a bigger piece of metal, and it uses kind of like a drill bit to machine it down, or to refine it down, maybe you could say whittle it down into a specific part. And so you can see there on the right, the student has to program these designs, and then once it's all programmed, then the machine will implement the design. The fun thing is that you will see these exact same machines over at Ridgewater College, and you will see these exact same machines at a number of our local manufacturers. Our goal with TigerPath is we wanted to get as much real world as possible into our high school so that students are learning on the real stuff. So, pretty exciting way that we do that here in Hutchinson. Yeah. Here's a part, you know, just what we were watching the student make. This is the finished product. That's what he's making. This is the welding and metalworking lab. Here students are going to learn different types of welding and how to work with metal, bending metal, using a plasma table to cut metal, and then welding to bring pieces of metal together for various purposes. So there's, I think it's 16 welding booths around the perimeter, and students will be in there making whatever they're making and welding things together. They have these here, what are called jig tables, and here's where they're going to put parts on top and fashion them together. So again, it's a state-of-the-art lab for what we have here for welding and metalworking. Here's an example of some of the state-of-the-art equipment that we have here at Hutchinson High School. This is called a plasma table, and it's used for cutting sheets of metal into different shapes and sizes. So again, this is all computer controlled. They will do the design work somewhere else, push the button, and then this machine will cut the part however they want it to be made. So here in the back, this is the engines and automotive lab. Here students will learn how to work on different types of small engines, and then they'll learn automotive technology. Here in Hutchinson High School, we're one of the few high schools that are still teaching automotive type stuff. And it's really important because we have a huge need for mechanics, auto mechanics, truck mechanics, diesel mechanics, small engine mechanics. There's a huge need for that. And so we're teaching all these courses here at Hutchinson High School in these state-of-the-art facilities. Here we are in the Building Trades and Woodworking Lab. Here students learn to work with woods, how to make furniture, how to make cabinets, how to do the construction trades just in general. And so again, totally state-of-the-art. We had local company donated this epoxy floor, for example, and in part of creating the Center for Technical Excellence, you know, these walls, they used to be gray cinder block. We painted everything white because we wanted to create a very lab-like environment, because that's quite honestly what modern manufacturing looks like. It's way more lab-like than what people would imagine to be, you know, kind of your standard manufacturing area. Oftentimes it's clean, it's a lot of very high-tech stuff. It's really a very pleasant place to work. Here again, you can see up on the wall, these are companies that donated to help make all this possible. Students can look up and say, someday I'm going to work there. One of the fun things that we do in this section is that over the years, the students have built a number of tiny homes. And these are actual, very small homes that people will purchase and live in. And I believe there's probably been 5 or 6 that have been built over the years. And I know for a fact that one of them got sold to some folks in California. They actually trucked it out there. Other ones are floating around Minnesota. So they build the tiny homes, but then they also build sheds and other related things, and you know, things for hunting and ice fishing and all that stuff. So really quite a lot of hands-on and real-world stuff that they're building here in this lab. So here's what's called a vacuum table, and it just uses air to hold parts in place while the students are working on them. So kind of a state-of-the-art thing. Over here to the left, this is a CNC router. And again, this is one that students will do the design work maybe in the CAD lab, push the button, and then it'll cut the part out of wood over here. And then finally, our newest thing is called a time saver. This is for sanding boards. In the olden days, you did all that stuff by hand or with a handheld machine, but now you can just put your boards in this thing on one side, it'll come out the other side sanded. So they call it a time saver. The Center for Technical Excellence at Hutchinson High School, as you can see, is really one of the top, maybe the top technical education training facilities of any high school in Minnesota. We've got 13,000 square feet of lab space filled with state-of-the-art equipment of every type. One of the cool things that we did when we were in the design phase is we wanted to make sure there were windows everywhere, because we want students, we want teachers, and maybe most importantly, we want mom and dad to look in and see all the cool stuff in there, all the cool things going on, and to be able to tell their kids, get in there and do that, because that is cool, that's the future, that's the good stuff. And so part of it is all just about breaking the stereotype that used to exist, maybe still exists, for manufacturing. When people think manufacturing, they think dirty, dingy, doesn't pay, going to China. And none of those things are true. It's high tech, it's state of the art, it's lasers, it's computers, all of these things. So it's really, manufacturing in 2026 is a lot different than what a lot of people think it is. And we wanted people to see that with their own eyes. So that's why we put windows everywhere. We painted all these walls white. We epoxy the floors and just make everything look first class. So here we have our CNA classrooms. There's actually 2 classrooms set up the same way. This is all part of the Sci-High Academy. And here students at Hutchinson High School, they can actually get certified as a nurse assistant. They can actually take the test and become a CNA just from what they're doing in high school. So that's pretty unique among Minnesota high schools, pretty remarkable that we have such a thing here in Hutchinson. As you know, we have a huge workforce shortage in the medical field. We need certified nurse assistants, we need licensed practical nurses, we need registered nurses. In fact, in Minnesota, over the next 5 years, I believe we need over 26,000 registered nurses. And so the question is, where do those folks come from? Fortunately, we're helping train that next generation of medical professionals right here at Hutchinson High School. So over the years, I'm inclined to think there's probably been, probably upwards of 100 students that have gotten their CNA certification through taking these classes, and a bunch of them have gone on to college and today are out there working as registered nurses. So we're actually producing the workforce that our state, our nation needs right here at Hutchinson High School. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Hutchinson Economic Developments, and thanks for staying around to see the Hutchinson High School tour. If you have any questions going forward, by all means, give me a call and I'd be happy to chat with you. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.